Donald Trump defeats Nikki Haley in New Hampshire. And the media is telling us that it's a bunch of red flags. But we'll go over some of the propaganda that goes around that, what's coming forward, and what happens next in Nevada. In other news, Greg Abbott turns around and tells Joe Biden where to stick it. And by it, I mean his demand to take over Shelby Park in Texas. And we are going to go over that, some of the reactions, and talk about a certain small Asian man in West Virginia who is wandering through the woods right now muttering, "Civil War," in a beanie. And, well, what the rest of that means as well. Denver hospitals are on the brink of collapse, and Chicago Mayor Brandon goes to the hospital for anxiety, so we'll be talking about what's going on with that and what happens there. And Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter indictment is here. We'll talk about the details of that and what's there on, by the way, what is probably going to be a very short contemporary. This is the least amount of articles I've had up on the top for a very, very long time. But don't worry, we've also got things I like and things that I hate. So strap yourselves in, find some food, find some friends, and apologize for being late because I got home from work at 5 minutes to 6, and take a breath. Don't it sound so easy? Never had a doubt. Now I'm going crazy, watching from the floor. Take a breath and let the rest come easy. Never settle down because the cash flow leaves me. Always wanting more. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I don't know if the speakers that I normally listen to that song through just suck that much, or what the story is, but I could actually hear like voices through the headphones in some of the low points in the music, and I'm like, man, have those always been there, or am I going out of my mind? I mean, voices in my head, obviously, I could very well be going out of my mind, so that's definitely a possibility, but I think that they were always there. It's just the fact of the matter is that I don't have good enough speakers to do so. Anyway, hello, hey, hi, I'm Jay Edgar. I know, an hour after 6 on Contemporary. Apologize for that. I got done with work at like 5:40. I didn't get home until like 5 minutes to 6, and like I was starving at the time too. So got a little bit of dinner in me. I still have a little bit that I'll probably eat after the stream, but I don't even know if we're gonna go 2 hours or not. I'm pretty sure that this is gonna be like an hour and a half, maybe. If we even get to an hour, because, well, a lot of it's review from Tuesday night, and, like, the big story right now folds into what I thought we were already going to talk about, and that is what's going on at the border with Texas. So, a lot of that moved and shook today, but, I mean, that's it. We didn't have a lot here, and I moved a lot of it over to the things I like and things that I hate tab as well. So, we've got some stuff to go over here today, so strap yourselves in, grab a friend, chat freely, by the way. Please chat freely. The more you chat, the more we get promoted up to the front page, and I love being promoted to the front page, so definitely come in and say your piece on whatever it is that you see. Grab some friends, get some conversation going, and let's get started over here on Contemporary. Before we do, special thank you to Quest Fanning for promoting out the replay the next morning. That was awesome, by the way. Got a few eyes on some new stuff here, and also, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, who is moving into new territory here, and Overruled with KTZed. Go check out all that great programming as we make up a better news experience. And, I mean, these people are great people, too. They really are. The RRC actually trying to make a transition. I think he was a little bit tired of getting as angry as he did every night. I can't speak for him at this point, but I know I've watched the show before, and like when you put that much emotion into it, night after night after night after night, it gets tiring, and I understand. And then you're working 60 hours a week to put food on your table too. I mean, that's why we're doing this 1 day a week, not 5 days a week, plus the time slot as well. So, well, and I should say 2 days a week, because we've done this for two weeks in a row, 2 days in a week. Man, we're going to be back to 5 days a week by the end of the election year. I can almost feel it, because they're just going to try to cram so much stuff on you and get you so exhausted by the Trump campaign that you don't even want to see his name anymore. And you'll sit there in November and think, what am I going to do? I can't do this for 4 more years. And you know that they're going to try to cram it down your throat for 4 more years. But we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. And I'd say let's get started here. So let's get my face off the screen here first before we shift over into this. And let's get started. Let's get the live chat up so I can see what you guys are doing here. Dual Helix is over here. Do whatever you want. I do whatever I want. You guys are going to get a chance to see into my new hobby here coming up probably next week sometime. I teased it out on the Final Fantasy stream last night, but yes, I put a very, very large order in after Contemporary Tuesday night, and you guys are getting an unboxing, and I really hope you're here. I'm going to do it live. So you guys are getting an unboxing for that, and I'll tell you a little bit of where I want to go with this and what I want to do. So I'm very excited for this. Probably going to be a new channel on the YouTube side. Maybe not on the Rumble side, but definitely on the YouTube side, because we're algorithmically demoted over there. And I'm telling you right off the bat, I can probably build an audience off of this with where I want to go with this. There are people that do this, what I'm going to do, but they do it in other countries. So I don't know of anybody who's really prominent that does it here in the US, but just the Twitter reaction, or the X reaction, I should say, got a bunch of people excited. No, not seeds, and not stems or sticks either. All right, let's talk New Hampshire. Now that we are about 48 hours in from the results. So, as predicted by a lot of people, the Donald has won New Hampshire. There's 99% reporting done. So, approximately, maybe, what did we get here? 300,000 votes. So there's maybe 3,000 left to count. Hey, Nikki Haley might get it yet. If she just gets all 3,000 of those votes and, well, the Donald drops dead, that would be the other thing. She might get it, you guys. She might win. Just if you believe hard enough, she might win. No, it's done. But she is going to be staying in at least through South Carolina. Now, the next race that we are going to watch is Nevada. Nobody's going to be paying attention for Nevada. We'll look at the results a little bit, but there's a caucus in Nevada and there's a primary in Nevada, except for the DNC, or I'm sorry, the RNC. The DNC is just going to make superdelegates and make whoever they want win-win. The RNC is not going to be counting the results of the primary. They're only going to be counting the results of the caucus, and anybody who entered to be in the primary, the state-run primary, is not allowed to participate in the caucus. Nikki Haley's running in the primary. President Trump is running in the caucus. You kind of see where this is going? Yeah, Nikki Haley got more votes than Biden. We can switch over to that side and have a look. I will say on the numbers, thank you. I wanted the gap to be higher. I really wanted to see Nikki Haley get absolutely bodied, like I did by Seymour 2 weeks ago on the Final Fantasy X stream. I really wanted to see her get bodied by like 30 points. Because that will come out and say that wing of the Republican Party, it's time to put it to bed. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants them. But yeah, we'll switch over to that. 176,004 to 140,096. And yes, Joe Biden got 79,455 votes, with a grand total of just about 108,000, 110,000 votes on the Democrat side. Now, this is interesting to see on the numbers, and like what Dual Helix is saying with this. because New Hampshire is supposedly a blue state that has more Democrat voters than Republican voters. By quite a large margin, actually. I mean, they've got the Free State Project. I don't know how they can be such a blue state, but they are really a blue state. And yet, there were 3-1 votes in the Republican primary over the Democrat primary. And people are trying to tell me that it wasn't just a bunch of Democrats that crossed the aisle to go and vote for Nikki Haley. Statistics definitely don't hold here. I think Nikki Haley got more votes than the Democrat primary did. Just doing some quick mental math here, because she got 140,000. Biden and Phillips together are about 103,000. 104,000 maybe, and then Marianne Williamson adding another 5,000. So then when we look down the other votes throughout here, about 110, 115,000 votes total. Oh, and 10,000 votes for other candidates. By the way, other candidates is ceasefire. 8.3% for other candidates. So 120,000 still. Nikki Haley got more votes just by herself than the entire Democratic field combined. And this is supposedly a blue state, again, in spite of the fact of the Free State Project. Let's talk about what CNN has to say. They are doing a live updater here, the latest on the New Hampshire primary and 2024 campaign. Trump pitched a fit in New Hampshire victory speech. Haley says while calling him out for not debating her. Nikki Haley returned home to South Carolina as she shifted her focus on the state's primary, telling a crowd her GOP rival Donald Trump pitched a fit in his New Hampshire victory speech. She added that the former president should feel threatened. We got there and we did our thing, and we said that we had to say, and then Donald Trump got there and he just threw a temper tantrum. He pitched a fit. He was insulting. He was doing what he does. But I know that's what he does when he's insecure. I know that's what he does when he's threatened, and he should feel threatened without a doubt, she said. Of what? You took a large section of the Democratic coalition and you still couldn't beat him in a blue state. Make it math. Make it make sense, Nikki Haley. Biden looks ahead to race against Trump, but the path to re-election won't be easy. We're going to talk more about that on Tuesday. Biden officially turned the page on Wednesday to the general election, looking ahead to a race against former President Trump that will test his ability to re-energize key corners of his winning coalition in a race his team views as nothing less than a fight for our hegemony itself. Remember, when the CNN bastards and anybody in the Biden administration says our democracy or for democracy, it's code. They mean our hegemony. The campaign believes the results from New Hampshire's primary were enough to indicate Trump would be the Republican nominee. Yeah, I think everybody in the country looks at that now. As the starting gun fired, the contours of Biden's efforts and challenges in reconvening at critical voting blocs that helped propel him into office were coming into sharper view. That means he's going to pull out Old Faithful. If you don't know if you're going to vote for me or Donald Trump, man, then you ain't black. I promise something similar to that gets said at least once in the campaign, by the way. Biden's path to victory will not be an easy one. His campaign advisors readily acknowledge the race this year will be exceedingly close and say their efforts will accelerate over the coming weeks. He faces a party that, according to the polls, would have preferred a different candidate, and divisions within his coalition, most visibly over the war in Gaza, have increasingly spilled into public view. Joe Biden is incredibly easy to defeat. The issue with that is to not talk about the Donald. Because he's not in power. He can't do anything right now. The person who is in power is the person to look at when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the gas pump, when you look at a new house and a mortgage right now. On Wednesday, he secured the key backing of the UAW, which had initially held off endorsing Biden, amid concerns about his push towards electric vehicles. And by that, of course, he means the leadership coalition of the UAW, because I'm telling you, a lot of the people on the ground don't really like him. But that's another one there. So we'll be talking more about the general election probably on Tuesday here from NPR. 5 takeaways from the New Hampshire primaries. 1. The clock is ticking on Nikki Haley's campaign. I didn't do NPR voice tonight. What the hell's wrong with me? Anyway. Haley said Tuesday night that she is forging ahead. New Hampshire is the first in the nation. It's not the last in the nation, Haley said. The race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go, and the next one is in my sweet state of South Carolina. She argued that she increased her support and that there's lots of other states still to vote. That's all true, but the road ahead doesn't look well paved for her. The next contest is Nevada, where she isn't even on the caucus ballot. That means Trump is going to gobble up the delegates, and attention there, Haley is on the state-run primary ballot 2 days earlier, but that does not award delegates, and Trump isn't on that one. Then at South Carolina, Haley said she's looking towards that. She scheduled a campaign rally in her home state Wednesday night and has begun spending money on ads there, but South Carolina looks more like Iowa than New Hampshire. And it'll be hard for Haley to explain away a loss in a state that she was the governor. Look, here's something you need to know about the Nikki Haley campaign, and I've been listening to Ben. Yes, I know, kill me now. I've been listening to Tim. Yes, I know, kill me now. I've been listening to Styx, which that's a little bit more tolerable at this point. And I'm sure that Razor's going to come out with something here in the near future as well. I don't really listen to a lot of other punditry. But one thing that I have not heard anybody come out with and talk about on this one is what a more reasonable strategy would be for Nikki Haley if she is intending to stay in through the rest of the primary and continue to lose over and over and over again, like I just said. Biden is beatable. You just have to keep people talking about Biden, because there are a lot of people that want to talk about the Donald. In fact, Biden's people, Biden has no idea where the fuck he is, but Biden's people would love for you to just sit and talk about Donald all day, every day. And it's easy to do. I mean, Donald himself loves the attention. He loves when he looks in the tabloid and he sees his name. He makes money every time he sees his name in the tabloid, or on the front of CNN, or on Fox News, or MSDNC, or anything else like that. He loves that stuff because it gets people talking about them, and then they talk about his products, his hotels, and everything else. He's a media mogul. He made his money on people talking about him in the news. And that's obviously true because the steaks fucking sucked. And so did the neckties. And the vodka, for whatever reason. Like, how can you have that much money and make crap vodka? And this is coming from somebody who wants to distill for a living. But where I go with that, and when I talk about this, is as long as Nikki Haley is in the primary, all attention is on that. There is no primary happening on the Democratic side. Well, there is, but the MSM is doing everything that they can to try to ignore it. And yet we sit here and we talk and we think about, okay, what's happening in Haley's home state? What's going to happen in Nevada? What's going to happen on Super Tuesday? I can see a future where Nikki Haley stays in through all 50 state contests and goes all the way to the convention. Why? Because the news media, as they go to every one of these contests, will have front wall, front page, front and center. What is Nikki Haley's path? Could she could she do an upset? Could she win state X? Could she win state Y? She's not going to. But that's going to be the wall-to-wall headlines. And I'll even admit to doing it here on Contemporary. What have we done in the Iowa caucus? What did we do? Well, I didn't do anything for the Iowa caucus, but we talked extensively about it the next day. But even there, we had a lengthy discussion in the Discord about the Iowa caucus. As long as there is a bloody, messy primary, no matter how many people are in it, that's where the focus is. Not on what your gas prices are, not what your grocery prices are, not what Biden is fucking up in the Middle East. When's the last time you heard a news article about Israel? Except for on here, we talked a little bit about it Tuesday night. When's the last time you heard anything about Ukraine? Hey, what's the situation with the Houthi rebels right now? We don't know, because we are laser focused on the primary that is really a foregone conclusion at this point. And the Biden admin loves that. They can push a bunch of shit through at the 11th hour, through executive order or other channels. And you're just sitting here thinking, is Nikki going to pull it off? Or is Trump going to win? So yes, I can see, I don't think she's going to stay in through all 50 states, but I can see a future where she does. Is Haley really going to want to endure a month of Trump's attacks? Yes. And again, it's not for thinking she's going to win the Republican primary. Haley's coalition, the Bush coalition and the Republican Party, is dead. And she knows it. She fits better in today's Democrat Party than today's Republican Party, as much as the DeSantis people want you to believe that we can go back into an actual conservative Republican Party. We haven't had that in my lifetime. Even Reagan was barely conservative. But again, as long as you're talking about Trump and Haley, you're not talking about Biden. No, President Harris. That's almost as scary as President Haley. Not quite. President Harris is slightly more palatable than President Haley, but not by much. Is Haley going to be able to hold on to the resources it requires for her to stay in the air in a significant way for that length of time? Can she maintain her loose coalition, even as the party moves increasingly toward rallying around Trump? John Cornyn, who's been lukewarm on Trump since the former president left the White House, came out and endorsed Trump on Tuesday night. What's more, Trump and his allies are vowing to go after Haley even harder than they already have, and Trump has already promoted a birther conspiracy theory against her, falsely accusing her of being ineligible to be the president. Yeah, because that's exactly what we fucking need right now. And the worst part about that is that the journalists are watching Truth Social to come back and see what it is that he says. For Ben, as cringe as he is, he brought up a good point on his show the other day. And Ben did say through the end of the first presidency of Trump that if you wanted him to win, take his phone away from him, make a mirror app of Twitter, put it on his phone, take the real app of Twitter off his phone, put a mirror app on there, but one that doesn't post anywhere, and make him think that he's posting on Twitter whatever it is that comes into his mind. Meanwhile, he's just tweeting out into air and nobody's seeing it. And they kind of did that with Truth Social. I mean, it still goes out there into the airwaves, but like a tenth of the people see it. And they don't see every post, just the ones that are increasingly egregious that the mainstream media wants to talk about. But every passing thought that comes through his head does not go out into the masses right now. And that's a good thing, and that's helping keep him somewhat tempered, except for the fact that now the mainstream media is watching it like a hawk because, oh, he said this, oh, he wants to go blow this up, he wants to do this, he's going to start World War III. He's got a birther conspiracy. Haley's electability argument isn't resonating with Republicans. No shit. Like I said the other night, and like I said on my video about the morality of candidates, I don't give a fuck that Haley fucked around on her husband. I don't give a goddamn about that. I care that she has a world map with bullseyes on it in her office. Yeah, they were funny, but that was fodder for the mainstream media to say, he's unhinged, he's not eligible for anything. No, it's still there. On a serious note, Edgar, warmongering wing of the right, is still alive and well. So I've been joking about the draft. Well, it's not the warmongering wing of the right, it's the warmongering wing of the left. That's taking a lot of these people like Haley. The general election unofficially begins now. Certainly that's the case for Trump's and Biden's campaign. Yeah, they've both shifted into general election mode, and for a country that says it doesn't want a Biden-Trump rematch, it sure seems like it's going to get that pretty easily. I think that's a lot more popular than you think it is. I'm going to come right out and say I think that's a lot more popular than the mainstream media thinks that it is. Not necessarily that they want to see the two men rematch, but they want the Donald back for his second term. They look at their wallets, they look at their savings accounts, they look at their mortgage payments. If they did have to buy a house in the midst of all this bullcrap. The car manufacturing, the fact that you can't... I mean, the 2024 F-150s are not on the lot yet. It's January 25th. And no dealership has taken a delivery of a new F-150 yet. They're looking at all this stuff and they say, hey, we had some mean tweets, but gas was cheap. The groceries were going up a little bit, but our wages were going up leaps and bounds above that. And if we didn't like our jobs, we could find one that paid more pretty easily. So, well, that's what NPR wants you to know. Politico wants you to know about bright red warning signs. From Adam Wren, Natalie Allison, and Lisa Kaczynski, and Jessica Piper. If Nikki Haley was going to stop Trump in any state, it was going to be New Hampshire, whose independent-minded electorate seemed more likely to deliver for her than anywhere else. It didn't. It wasn't a knockout punch, but Trump beat his only remaining competition here decisively. Yeah, by double digits on Tuesday. In a state with so many independent primary voters, with Trump's above 50, it's pretty hard to argue Republican primary voters are looking for anyone else, said former New Hampshire GOP Chair Fergus Cullen. Still, bright red warning signs are flashing for Trump. A wounded Haley is vowing to fight on, telling a crowd on Tuesday night that this race is far from over. Well, we'll see. If Trump's closing argument in New Hampshire calling for full and total immunity sounded more at home in a courtroom than a town hall, it's because they'll be the very terrain on which he now stands to cinch his party's nomination. To wit, the next GOP contest to award delegates doesn't take place until February 8th. That happens to be the same day that 2,500 miles to the east, the Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments on whether the 14th Amendment should knock him off the ballot. It shouldn't. Criminal cases pending in New York. There are no criminal cases in New York. That is a civil case. Georgia and Florida and potentially even Michigan also loom. We're going to put a pin in that because I didn't know about the one in Michigan. Let's put a pin in that and talk about that on Tuesday. The political liability for Trump is huge. Last month, the Wall Street Journal poll found that Trump leading Biden in a head-to-head also showed that Trump fares worse if convicted of a felony. The general election coalition Trump would have to build is deeply fractured over issues of his conduct. Just look at Haley's supporters, whose support he would need in November. In New Hampshire on Tuesday, roughly 9 to 10 Haley voters said that they would not be happy with a third Trump nomination, according to exit polls, while 84% of her backers said Trump would be unfit for the presidency again if convicted of a crime. Well, they're Democrats. Of course they're not going to be happy with him being president. So, we will see what happens with that. Yeah, I'm gonna read that one for Tuesday. True Social is still around. I thought it went the way of MySpace. No, it's still there. But for the most part, it's the Donald tweeting into the wind. Trump's fourth year is why we're in this cluster F. Biden has made it worse, but his last year started this. Yes, that is true, but that was a lot of people trying to make sure that he didn't get a second term. Michigan, apparently, according to the Detroit Free Press, or the Detroit News rather, and we'll talk about this on Tuesday, Trump recorded pressuring Wayne County canvassers not to certify the 2020 vote. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. That'll be on the front page for Tuesday. Alright. Trump to Tim Scott, who had his endorsement. Let's listen.
Did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician. Did you ever think that she actually appointed?
Yeah, that is a little bit off. Wisconsin's conservative sponge calls it right there. It's a little bit off. And, well, we'll be talking more about electioneering on Tuesday. But now we're going to go to the title card. The Civil War, that you may say. Or that a small man in a beanie might say. Before we get to that, I just want to talk about this one here, because if everything that we're seeing is true, then this might be leading to it, the Associated Press reporting. Doomsday clock signals existential threats of nuclear war, climate disasters, and AI. From the Associated Press. Earth, for the second year running, is nearing apocalypse. A science-oriented advocacy group said, pointing to its famous doomsday clock that shows 90 seconds till midnight. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists made the annual announcement on Tuesday, rating how close humanity is from ending. It cited nuclear threat in Russia's war in Ukraine, as well as the October 7th attack in Israel and war in Gaza, worsening climate-related disasters. Okay, well, we can probably roll a few seconds backwards on that one. And the danger of generative artificial intelligence. That does worry me a little bit, honestly. I'll be right out and open and say that one. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists made... I read that. I read that paragraph already. You don't get a second one. Last year, we expressed amplified concern by moving the clock to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest to global catastrophe it has ever been. So Rachel Bronson, CEO of the Bulletin Group, the risks from last year continue with unabated veracity and continue to shape this year. So, they've been doing this since 1942. It's mostly fear porn. I'm not that worried about it, but again, I do remind you that while we might not be close to extinction, financially, if you can, get a second hustle or a first hustle. Grab some extra hours at your job if you can. Stockpile a little bit of food, a little bit of non-perishable, just in case, while you still have some cash. A drop of ice, pick up a new skill, and lose 10 pounds because you're going to want to better yourself coming up for next year, no matter who wins. I'll tell you that right off the bat. But I'm not worried about this. Not even in the least. But why they're doing this? Well, let's see. Fox News reporting here. The Biden admin has issued a response to Texas, setting a deadline of January 26, 2024, for Greg Abbott to return control of disputed areas of the Texas southern border back to the federal government. Which, by the way, that's in like 4 hours. Just so you know. That deadline, where I'm sitting, is 4 hours and 15 minutes. Your times may vary, but Texas is in Central Time, remember. Let's listen.
Well, as it stands right now, you might be able to make out behind me, Texas's razor wire is still here inside of Shelby Park. It remains untouched. However, the Biden administration has now warned Texas it has until tomorrow to allow Biden's border agents back into
Or what?
Shelby Park and the ability to remove Texas's razor wire as it sees fit. A federal attorney writes to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton that the Supreme Court ruled in favor.
What are you going to do? Bomb your own citizens? Are you going to send the National Guard? Well, not that you can't control the National Guard. Are you going to send the Marine Corps in and start mowing down National Guard people? What's the plan here, you guys? I want to see this.
Of the Biden administration ending a temporary restraining order that prohibited Biden's border agents from touching Texas razor wire in and around Shelby Park. The Biden administration goes into detail about the access it wants. It wants access to Shelby Park, also the nearby boat launch and the international bridge. Well, as it stands right now, you might be able to make out behind.
Do you hear that? Hold on. I can hear that. It's somewhere off in the direction of West Virginia. Although I'm lying, from where I'm sitting, that would actually be that direction, not this direction. Do you hear that though? It's the sound of a small Asian man in a beanie, muttering, "Civil War, Civil." You know, I thought about buying a beanie. Like, when I first saw it, obviously I wouldn't have been able to do it for tonight because I just found out about this, like, an hour before we went live. But when I start to see stories like this, I thought about buying a beanie. Just so I can make that joke. Not really a hat person, but I would do that just to screw with you guys. Just to say, Civil War. The Mogwai says, Texas always responds to threats well. Angry gun sounds. Let's see. Scott is watching his P's and Q's for 2028. I would vote for Tim Scott in 2028, by the way. I was mildly interested in him for 2024. Because remember, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump fan. I think that a lot of my life was better under Trump, but I know, at least in my mind, number one, how hard they are going to push to make everything a disaster under him. And furthermore, I was not a fan of the spending. But I will not argue that my life was not better under Trump. But I was interested in Tim Scott for 2024. I definitely was, and I would be interested in him for 2028. I cannot get behind DeSantis. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I keep watching the clock and it doesn't move. Oh, with the quote, the Mogwai. I made 2 movies on why AI is bad. James Cameron. And you know what? I've never seen those movies. I think I know which 2 you're talking about, but I've never seen them. I will wait to see what it is you put in the chat for which 2 movies that James Cameron did that talked about why AI was bad. One of them was actually called AI, wasn't it? Hell, we could say the Wachowski sisters made 2 movies on why AI is bad. Texas always responds to threats well. Angry gun sounds increase. Texans have better weapons than the U.S. government. If you're gonna stand up against the if you're gonna stand up against the government, man, then you gotta have an F-16. Watch every Terminator that was ever made, you say. Okay. I've never seen a Terminator movie. I've seen bits and pieces of the Terminator and Terminator 2. But I've never seen them, like, sat down and from start to finish and watched them. Dual Helix says, Tim, keep a lid on it, pool. Civil War! Well, he keeps a lid on it up here. It's made of wool. His whole persona is tied to an object that's there to hide reality. I like that. That's funny. Tim Scott probably would get the VP pick. I'd vote for that ticket. Tim Scott or Dr. Carson? I would vote for those tickets. Dr. Carson over Tim Scott for me, but... Terminator movies are the best scary AI movies. I guess I didn't know that was a James Cameron movie either. Makes sense, but... You're talking to a guy who never watches movies. Even though I have seen Clerks 2. Made an interesting observation to one of my coworkers today. I don't talk about work very often, but I made an interesting observation to one of the guys at work, and we were talking about different ways to say this is the way and the way is this and everything else, and I pointed out, I said, you've seen Clerks 2, right? You know, that big argument where Randall and Elias were talking. It was Elias, not Ethan, by the way. Elias, I said Ethan this morning while I was talking to him. Where Randall and Elias were talking about The Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars. Well, it just so happens that Rosario Dawson, who is the face of Ahsoka Tano in real life, was the manager of the movies in Clerks 2. So Randall's boss is now Ahsoka Tano. Alright. Anyway, we gotta keep moving on here. Hey, if I keep getting sidetracked, then we will go for 2 hours. Alright, the report that goes with this. From Fox News, Biden admin demands Texas give Border Patrol access to Key Park at the center of border dispute. From Bradford Betts. The Biden admin is ratcheting up demands for Texas to grant Border Patrol officials access to a key park at the center of a border dispute. Texas seized control of the Riverfront Park earlier this month and began denying entry to the Border Patrol agents, escalating a feud between Greg Abbott and Joe Biden. The Republican governor has repeatedly slammed the Biden admin for not doing enough to stem the tide of illegal border crossings, which hit more than 300,000 nationwide last month. On Tuesday, DHS sent the state a letter addressed to AG Paxton demanding access to Shelby Park, which is next to the Rio Grande. Which, by the way, we're going to do that on the map here, too. Just so we get an idea of where this is. Okay, this is actually way further west than I thought. So, you are here. San Antonio's here, for reference. Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. So this is way out to the west. But we come down here to Shelby Park, which is, I don't know what, Las Quintas Fronterizas, I think is the name of the municipality here, it looks like. And it goes across to Zona Centro and Piedras Negras with a highway that's actually shares its number as it goes across as well, 57. Mexican federal 57 versus US 57. But this is where all the fight is happening, right here, right along Highway 57. Just a little ways southwest of San Antonio. Which, I have some connections. I don't know how far this is in distance. 60 some miles, maybe an hour. I could probably pull some strings and get down there and see this. I don't know how short a notice it would be, but I could probably pull some strings and get down there. Kevin Smith loves to weave weird stuff into his work like that. Well, the only thing with that is that that movie precedes The Mandalorian by like 20 years. What year did Clerks 2 come out? 05, 06, something like that, I think. I don't know. I watched it for the first time when I was in Mass, but it was already getting traded around places that I shouldn't have been downloading it from. We'll leave it at that. So that was the first time I saw that. I think it was 05, and Mandalorian, #1, 15 years. Yeah, it preceded that by 15 years. You can't taste hate, funny, or honey, whichever it is. Must be Lindsey Graham taking Mogwai's phone again. Oh no, not the map. But their Mexican food is top notch. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Alright. To our knowledge, Texas has only permitted access to Shelby Park by allowing public entry for a memorial, the media, and the use of a golf course adjacent to Shelby Park, all while continuing to restrict U.S. Border Patrol's access to the park, the letter read. It gave Texas until Friday to respond. That's tomorrow. The letter followed the Supreme Court's decision on Monday that effectively sided with the Biden admin giving Border Patrol the okay to start removing razor wire installed near Eagle Pass to keep out the migrants. Texas has installed rows of razor wire in Shelby Park and said more was being added after the Supreme Court's decision. Though not addressing the park, Abbott has struck a defiant tone, writing a lengthy statement that the Biden admin had broken a compact between the U.S. and the states. The executive branch has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration, on the books right now, he said. Biden has refused to enforce those laws and even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigrants. Now, I don't want to beat too much of a drum here, but the razor wire is here. Right there. Less than 1,000 feet away is the International Bridge, where instead of swimming across and risking the razor wire, you can walk or get in a car or drive across to the border crossing. Which appears to be Border Patrol here. Yeah, the Alcoholic Beverage Commission is there. Looks like there's a little bit of shopping center there for people coming and going. Duty Free Americas, the Duty Free store. And the port of entry. Let's pull the satellite out here. Yeah, they go through here, they go through, check in with the US, and then go up over the bridge here, and then get checked in over on the Mexican side. So, there's the boat launch that they say is in question. The razor wire fence should be right around here. I don't think it's going to show in Google Maps here, but that's where it should be. And yes, just a couple hundred feet away, you can literally walk across the bridge and say, "Yes, I seek asylum. I am in fear of my own government." Please catch me and release me. I bet there's at least 5 Dollar Generals. Dinero. I don't see a Dollar General here. Kind of want to go see it. Kind of should go make a phone call to one of my friends. Dogma and Clerks 2 might be Kevin Smith's funniest films. I am such a huge fan of the original Clerks and Mallrats. I love Mallrats. I didn't realize the mall in Mallrats was still open, but I could go there in like 2 hours. I thought about doing it on Monday last week, but then I had to go take care of some business where I used to live. Alright, let's move on here. Let's grab one from NPC News. Supreme Court allows Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire installed at Mexico border. This is one that was left over from Tuesday. Lawrence Hurley reporting a closely divided Supreme Court on Monday allowed the Border Patrol to cut through or move razor wire installed on the U.S.-Mexico border as part of the state's effort to prevent illegal border crossings. The court, on a 5-4 vote, granted emergency request filed by the Biden admin, which had argued that Texas was preventing agents from carrying out their duties. The brief order noted that 4 conservative members of the 9-justice court would have rejected the government's request. They were Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. The Biden admin says the wire prevents agents from reaching migrants who have already crossed over the border into the U.S. Greg Abbott, a Republican, installed the razor wire near the Rio Grande at Eagle Pass as part of an operation to address illegal immigration that has brought the state into conflict with the Biden admin. A White House spokesperson on Monday said Texas political stunts, like placing razor wire near the border, simply make it harder and more dangerous for the frontline personnel to do their job. Well, if we had a great and glorious wall... Oh, wait, no. That's supposedly racist. Ultimately, we need adequate resources and policy changes to address our broken immigration system. Texas sued after the Border Patrol agents cut through some of the razor wire, claiming the agents had trespassed and damaged state property, which they did. By the way, that's not a claim, that's actually what happened. Abbott's immigration enforcement plan, called Operation Lone Star, included busing thousands of migrants to Democrat-led cities and arresting migrants on trespassing charges. The state previously placed buoys in the Rio Grande to prevent crossings, prompting the Biden admin to sue. The barrier remains in place while litigation continues. There you go. That's your conservative majority, your 6-3 conservative majority. At work, right there. On a 5-4 narrow vote with Coney Barrett and who's the other one? Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh, which means that Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Roberts were the ones who sided with the liberals on the court. Now, as to what's going to happen tomorrow. DHS threatens to take appropriate action against Texas over border access. From Luke Barr. The DHS has threatened the state of Texas, saying the state is acting unconstitutionally in blocking Customs and Border Protection's access to Shelby Park and Eagle Pass. And if the state continues to do so, the DOJ will take appropriate action, according to a letter obtained by ABC News. They don't say what appropriate action is. Again, I really hope that it's not sending in the Marine Corps and mowing down people. Number one, because, well, let's just face it, I don't want to see that. And number two, I don't think that would turn out as well for the Biden admin as they think it would. I think a lot of people will be getting dishonorable discharges that day. Texas actions are clearly unconstitutional and actively disrupting the federal government's operations. DHS counsel Jonathan Meyer wrote to Texas AG Ken Paxton, "We demand Texas cease and desist its efforts to block Border Patrol's access in and around Shelby Park area to remove all barriers and to access the Shelby Park area." The Biden admin accused the Texas National Guard of blocking the Border Patrol agents from accessing a 2.5-mile stretch of the southern border in Eagle Pass, including Shelby Park. Well, I know that I always say accused and innocent until proven guilty, but in this particular instance, no, they're fucking bragging about it, dude. Oh yeah, no, we kept them out of there. Fuck those guys. Mogwai says none of this addresses the hundreds of tunnels that go under the wall and wire. That's how the drugs everyone is scared of gets to us. We'll do that in topic chat. I'm going to change topic chat. I'll do that yet today, and we can talk about whether or not this is going to be Civil War. Civil War! I know everyone in the world is tired of hearing Tim Pool say it, but Civil War! Yeah, we'll do that in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, come and join and we'll talk about that, because I'm kind of interested to see what you think, and especially when we talk about hundreds of tunnels. But I want to know what the appropriate action is too. Like, what are you thinking? What do you think you're gonna do, Joey? Another one from Fox here. GOP lawmakers urge the DOJ to forego immigration lawsuit against the Lone Star State. Texas should not be punished. From Kyle Morris. Several members of the Texas Republican congressional delegation are calling on the DOJ to forego its recent lawsuit against the Lone Star State, saying the Biden admin has failed Texans and the American people with their open border policies. In a letter slated to be sent to AG Garland on Wednesday, more than a dozen House Republicans from Texas called out the Biden admin for its inability to secure the southern border while simultaneously targeting those who attempt to do so. We write to you with grave concern regarding the ongoing legal challenges being faced by the state of Texas in relation to SB 4. Passed on November 21st, 2023, which grants the state of Texas the authority to arrest individuals who illegally cross the border from Mexico, the lawmakers led by Texas GOP Rep. Roger Williams wrote in the letter. Earlier this month, the DOJ filed a lawsuit against Texas over SB 4, pitting Abbott against the Biden admin as both remain at odds over how to handle the escalating crisis of the southern border. Look, here's the problem. Now, I appreciate that you're sending a letter and trying to do this diplomatically. Garland doesn't give a fuck. Garland does not care. Do you know why Garland does not care? Because Garland is a partisan actor. He's not doing what is upholding the law, no matter how many times you tell him he's not upholding the law. He is doing what the Biden admin tells him and going after political enemies. Because that's what Merrick Garland does. That is what Merrick Garland has always done. The Mogwai says, DeSantis says bomb the border of... Wait, sorry. He's currently getting bombed at the border as he's not running. That's something I could do too. Having the connections I have in that area. I could go get bombed at the border. Mogwai, I like the way you think. I could sing 2 pina coladas at the border, probably getting an authentic Mexican pina colada. Holy shit, we gotta make this happen. To the travel agent's office! Oh wait, no, we gotta finish this first. And Abbott, of course, has doubled down. Abbott doubles down on border invasion declaration after Supreme Court blow. Greg Abbott on Wednesday accused the federal government of breaking the compact with the states following a Supreme Court ruling on Monday that cleared the way for the Border Patrol to remove razor wire installed by Texas along the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm starting to get a little bit gummy in the mouth and kind of wishing that I'd have brought something to drink before I sat down. My bottle of live wire is empty, and that makes me sad because, well, I've got to travel out of town to get more. In a statement, Abbott said President Biden refused to enforce immigration laws and has even violated them. It's the latest escalation in a legal battle and political standoff between Texas and the federal government, though Abbott stopped short of announcing any specific measures. He's been pushing constitutional boundaries on the state versus federal jurisdiction of border and immigration enforcement for the better part of 2 years. His legal team, including Ken Paxton, first publicly toyed with the idea of formally declaring a border invasion in April of 2022. In that November, Abbott wrote Biden invoking the state's constitutional right to wage war when invaded. But he only made his official invasion declaration public in September. Since then, the governor has methodically increased the border enforcement roles of the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas National Guard, citing the constitutional authority for a state to defend itself against invasion. That is some language right there. I hope you guys bought a bunch of popcorn. 10 rounds with Jose Cuervo if you want a country vibe at the border. I do, actually. I think that would be fantastic. And after one round of Jose Cuervo, I caught my boots tapping along with the beat. The authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority as well as state law to secure the Texas border, wrote Abbott. Well, that's some language. You think that's what's going to bring the draft back? We might be going along tonight. No, well, I'm over an hour, I know that. An hour 1. But we're actually pretty close. Plus, I got things I like and things that I hate. All right, since we brought up DeSantis, let's listen to DeSantis. Can the federal government defy the law and force a state to allow foreign invasion? James Madison didn't think so. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get up and get something to drink.
Biden is going after Texas, saying that they must remove fortifications from their border. They put wire, they put things to keep people out. Biden's saying you got to take that down to let people come in illegally, which is just crazy. And I remarked that if the Constitution was originally understood to mean that a state could not protect itself against an invasion, that the federal government could force a state to allow an invasion, the Constitution would have never been ratified in the first place. Texas would have never joined the Union when it did. And if you look at Federalist 46, which Daniel Horowitz pointed out, James Madison talks about situations where federal encroachment can be mitigated by state action. So you have Texas here that's holding its ground. They have every right to fortify the border vis-a-vis an invasion, and that's Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. So they're in the right. You also have a situation where liberal jurisdictions over many, many years have been sanctuary jurisdictions against enforcing federal immigration law. So you'll have somebody who's a criminal alien, they will not be given over to ICE, and they will deliberately act to frustrate the laws on the books, and somehow that's viewed as okay. You have Texas, who's acting to enforce the laws on the books, to ensure that they have a secure state and that we have a secure country. So all of this is just nonsense what Biden's doing. Texas has every right to stand its ground. In Florida, we've been sending people to help for many years now because we understand it's not just a Texas issue, it's ultimately an American issue. And if we don't have sovereignty in this country, then we're not going to be a country anymore. So they have every right to hold their ground.
Oh, he said not going to be a country anymore. Drink.
To stay the course, and Florida will continue to be there helping out every step of the way. Secure state and that we have a secure country. So all of this is just nonsense what Biden's doing. Texas has every right to stand its ground. In Florida, we've been sending years, have been sanctuary jurisdictions against enforcing federal immigration law. So you'll have somebody who's a criminal alien, they will not be given over to ICE, and they will deliberately act to frustrate the laws on the books, and somehow that's viewed as okay. Yeah.
So I want to talk about that particular point for just a moment. Now, first off, I am 100% in favor of a sanctuary district's ability to declare itself a sanctuary district and confuse federal law enforcement on whatever the issue is. And I cite myself with that, not on the immigration issue. Although these people want to take in all these immigrants away from Texas, then that's on them, and they have to go figure out how to feed them, how to house them, how to clothe them, and how to make them members of the society in that area. And I don't think that they're looking to do that. I think, and I mean, we see this with the busing stunts. They like to talk a big game and then go and beg the federal government for help, or beg to bus these people back to red districts when they actually have to put their money where their mouth is on something like that. But the other part about this, and the hard part about this, and where I think that Tim actually might be right, oh my god, I can't believe I just said those words out loud, is the fact that, I mean, with the Civil War starting, when it did start, a big part of that was the people who were unfortunately at the time property escaping out into a safe district, a sanctuary district, and then being refused to give back, to be given back to what was unfortunately the owner in that situation right now, and a failure to protect property rights. As sick and twisted as those property rights were, that was a big lead into what caused the Civil War in the first place. I'm 100% against the idea of owning humans. 100%. But failure to enforce the law, enforce anything, versus one district to another, that's where you start to get these tensions and Civil War starts to start. It definitely shows an overreach on the federal government, where they get the ability to pick and choose what laws to go and follow. So, I'm kind of nervous. I'm a little bit interested to see where this goes, definitely. Let's get the music back up here. Let's check up with chat. All right. You have to swab their noses at the border. Everyone knows that. DeSantis. Well, yeah, as if you're going into Florida, you have to stop them at I-95 and swab the noses. That's right. Yeah, you have no right to talk about what you do at the borders. 99% of the bottom part of Florida got here by their parents surviving an inner tube ride over the ocean. I think your math is a little bit high, but I do get the point that you're trying to make with that. What else do we have here? From the Washington Post. Just a brief timeline here, but an increasingly intense dispute between Texas and the federal government. At the moment, no issue in American politics is more fraught than immigration. Well, no, there's a more fraught issue at this point. It's the fact that people are taking out second jobs and credit lines to buy groceries. Beyond those strains, the increase has also supercharged political commentary, and particularly on the right, given that immigration is a federal issue and President Biden is a Democrat and up for re-election. At the extreme, the new arrivals, the numbers of whom were often exaggerated, have become fodder for anti-immigrant. Really? That's where you're going to go? Washington Post, often exaggerated numbers have become fodder for anti-immigrant rhetoric that's at times explicitly racist or conspiratorial. And of course, we have to get that because it's the Washington Post. Where democracy goes to die in darkness, by the way. Abbott has, in practice and rhetoric, been at the forefront of combating the federal government's handling of the surge. It's not surprising that he should be, given how much of his state borders Mexico, and, as a result, is tasked with accommodating the arrivals in recent weeks. Abbott has taken steps to significantly increase his dispute with the federal government, both challenging federal authority and risking further escalation. Below is the timeline of that tension. March 2021 is Operation Lone Star, a crackdown on the smuggling of people and drugs into a state. I just kicked my boot into something. I don't know what the hell it was. July 2022 reports indicate that the DOJ is investigating the operation for alleged civil rights violations. March 2023, Abbott defends deploying 60 miles of razor wire along the border. June 23, Mexico sends a diplomatic memo to the U.S. objecting to Abbott's efforts. Well, yeah, that's because that's their political relief valve. That's how they keep from getting a revolution that they desperately need down there. They do that by sending all the revolutionaries over here. No. Yeah, things are bad down here. Just go to the U.S. July 3rd, a Texas state trooper alleges that he had been ordered in June to push migrants back into the river. July 7th, Texas begins installing floating barriers to block transit. The DOJ sues Texas over the buoys. 2 migrants are found dead in the Rio Grande near Eagle Pass, but that's a Tuesday. December 1st, federal appeals court orders Abbott to remove the buoy barrier. Abbott signs a law criminalizing illegal entry. Texas takes control of Shelby Park. And Henry Queller accuses Texas of allowing children to drown in the river. And then now we are here to today. 22nd, Supreme Court allows authorities to continue removing razor wire at the border. And Abbott releases a statement defending Texas authorities. So, that's your timeline right there. Lindsey Graham is in Mogwai's house again. I don't know why everyone's worried about Texans, sweetie. The only thing that comes out of Texas is steers and... Wait, they come from Texas? Wait, Lindsey, how do you keep getting in here? I'm calling the cops. Mogwai's ever-present battle with his senator of questionable sexuality. Alright, some of the aftermath of this one here. Across a couple different states. From Fox News, Denver hospitals want a federal bailout as illegal immigrants flood the system. Which, again, the question there, I'm opposed to federal dollars in every case, federal aid. I think it should all be coming from state aid. But with that being said, I also understand that Denver expects Texas to just shoulder the burden without federal aid. Or I think more likely they want them to take the aid so they can say, hey, you owe us now because we gave you aid. Because nothing comes out of the federal government without a gigantic fucking hook in it. I said that when the stimulus checks came around. A top doctor in Denver has told Fox News the illegal migrant crisis has pushed the state's hospital system to its breaking point and causing a humanitarian crisis. Denver Health Chief of Government Affairs, Dr. Steve Federico, said the influx of migrants is putting an enormous strain on hospitals and staff and called for federal aid to bail out. We absolutely need additional public support to help provide health care to our safety net hospitals, such the Denver Health, Federico told the Ingram Angle on Thursday. We're needing to respond to this huge humanitarian crisis in our emergency rooms and our clinics. And so, what we're looking for is policymakers to step up and fund appropriately the healthcare providers that are providing this care. Again, the expectation, of course, was that they say they're a sanctuary state, but they don't walk the walk. They just say, oh, yeah, bring all the illegal people in here. If they make it to Denver, then we'll keep federal authorities away from them. Wait, what do you mean you're bringing that many people over here? Wait, what's going on? They were supposed to stay in Texas forever. And from the Post-Millennial in Chicago, Chicago mayor treated at hospital for panic attacks amid illegal immigrant crisis, reporter claims. Bet you're kind of pissed off that you ran against Lori Lightfoot at this point, who would probably be doing no better. 2 Chicago journalists have reported that Brandon Johnson has become so stressed out that he was hospitalized for panic attacks. John Cash and Anita Padilla broke the news on WGN AM's Chicago Way podcast on January 16th, saying that Johnson needed medical help due to increasing stress. Look, I don't begrudge you for going to the hospital to deal with this. But you do need to understand that you took a public service job in one of the most violent cities in the nation and one of the most politically corrupt cities in the nation. You kind of had to know that this was coming when you walked into this. They were talking about the illegal immigrant problem on air when Cass said, "No amount of antidepressants can cure him of this problem." Yeah, it might be time for him to resign. I don't know who's waiting in the wings right now, but it might be time for him to resign at this point. I know it's so true, Padilla said. And actually, you brought it up. I was going to bring it up. The panic attacks, Cass said. The mayor's panic attacks, can we talk about that? Well, and like they said, when you call yourself a sanctuary city, you call yourself a sanctuary state. And guess what's going to happen? Padilla said. I think they're right there, too. He just wasn't ready for it. He thought it was going to be easy street once he knocked out Lori Lightfoot, but you couldn't give me enough of a salary to run for mayor in that city. Not that I could ever get past the mafia anyway, but you could not give me enough money and kickbacks and bribes to run that city. No way whatsoever. None. I will knock somebody for it, not because I don't think that it's possible to get panic attacks, and I don't think it's a high-stress job. It's just, it's one of those things where you kind of got to know what you're getting when you get into it. Like, these are the kinds of things that you should expect. Closer to home from WKOW out of Madison, Wisconsin. Senator Baldwin calls for President Biden to help Wisconsin with migrant struggles. From Wyatt Bant. Tammy Baldwin has joined Republicans in urging Biden to help Wisconsin as it struggles to support the people migrating to the state. In a letter to the president, Baldwin specifically cited the city of Whitewater as an example of state and local resources failing to provide migrants with safe transportation, housing, and public safety services. That's not the government's job. Baldwin said the U.S. and Western Hemisphere as a whole are in a time of unprecedented migration, which is straining infrastructure. Addressing the crisis requires leadership, and as part of your admin's response, I urge you to ensure that adequate resources and support are available to all towns and cities across Wisconsin to keep our communities healthy and safe for all, she said in the letter. In the last 2 years, 1,000 immigrants arrived to Whitewater, the city police chief said. The influx has put great strain on city resources, including housing and law enforcement. Again, I feel for the position that you're in, Tammy Baldwin, but you're a Democrat. Number one, you voted for this. What did you think was going to happen? And number two, now you're begging the government to come back in and take care of the people that you voted to come here. Yeah, there's a reason Marion Barry smoked crack. You're close enough, just yeet them over the border to Canada. See how polite Canada is after that. Well, they're dealing with the Chinese up there. So they've got that avenue going. And unfortunately, let's go pull the map back up here. We'll pan all the way out and come up here. The yeet for us does mean getting a considerable amount of yeet to get over all the water. I do get what you're saying, and I understand and respect it, but you need a lot of yeet to get there. We're going to need a bigger catapult. Alright, a little bit more news, then we'll do things I like and things that I hate. Further from home, we'll be talking more about the Houthis in Israel on Tuesday, but I just thought this was funny enough to put in for today. Indonesia files a lawsuit against Israel at the International Criminal Justice Court. Sorry, the International Court of Justice, not International Criminal Justice. Israel's Mariv newspaper reported that Indonesia has filed a new lawsuit against the Israeli occupation at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. In doing so, Indonesia joined South Africa, which filed the first lawsuit against Israel for committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The Indonesian Foreign Ministry had previously assembled a team of experts to help draft Indonesia's ICJ case to hold Israel accountable for its policies and practices in the occupied Palestinian territories. According to the local Jakarta Post website, Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said that the case will help support local order based on international law as well as support for the Palestinians. Marsudi's statement has made ahead of meeting dozens of international law experts and academics in the capital, Jakarta. I really have a hard time seeing where this goes anywhere, especially with as many presidents of this country who should be tried in The Hague. Maybe Jack Smith can lay off of what he's trying to do in this country and go over there instead. ICJ, isn't that Judge Judy's courtroom? No, it is not, but that would be funny. From the Associated Press, Alec Baldwin's grand jury indictment opens up 2 paths for prosecutors. Morgan Lee reporting. Alec Baldwin once again is staring down a felony involuntary manslaughter charge after a grand jury indicted the actor in connection with the fatal 2021 shooting of a cinematographer on the set of a Western movie in New Mexico. The lead actor and co-producer on Rust, Baldwin pointed a gun at a cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, during a rehearsal for the movie set outside of Santa Fe, when the gun went off, killing her and wounding director Joel Souza. A new analysis of the gun opened the way for prosecutors to reboot the case after dismissing an involuntary manslaughter charge last year. A new 1-page indictment delivered by the grand jury Friday alleges Baldwin caused Hutchins' death, either by negligence or total disregard of a difference of safety, which that should have been the first charge to begin with. The first rule of firearm safety. And by the way, I understand that a prop gun is it's made to be pointed at people while it's during filming, cinematography, etc. And yes, an accident could have happened during filming, but the first rule of firearm safety is above all else. Never point a weapon at something you don't intend to destroy. That is total disregard or indifference for safety, if that's how he caused her death. Defense attorneys for Baldwin indicate they'll fight the charge, which carries a potential prison sentence of up to 18 months. And they're still trying to make this fucking movie, by the way. The Mogwai says, when Alec Baldwin plays flag football, he takes the shotgun seriously. Baldwin can enter a formal plea with or without a court arraignment, setting in motion preparations for a trial. The indictment provides prosecutors with 2 alternative standards for the felony involuntary manslaughter charge against Baldwin. One would be based in negligent use of a firearm. Baldwin has said he pulled back the gun's hammer but not the trigger, and the weapon fired. I've seen the weapon and he pulled the trigger. I can't prove that, but I know enough about the operation of revolvers. He pulled the trigger. And again, never point a weapon at something you don't intend to destroy. Ever. So, I'm sure this is going to pop up in the midst of an election year as we go. I don't think this one's going to get dismissed, but we will see. And the last one on the news, there is some major movement expected on redistricting in Wisconsin legislation. Reading from the Associated Press, Republicans make last-ditch effort to pass new legislative maps in Wisconsin. From Scott Bauer, Wisconsin Republicans made a last-ditch effort Tuesday to avoid having the liberal-controlled state Supreme Court put in place new legislative district boundaries for the November election. The Republican-controlled Senate passed the new Senate and Assembly maps just over an hour after unveiling them, not giving the public or Democrats a chance to review them ahead of their release. Democrats said they don't have time to analyze the proposal before the vote. Well, nobody had time to analyze the Wisconsin or the courts maps before they came out either. And Assembly Republicans were discussing passing maps as proposed by Democrat Governor Tony Evers without any changes. That could stop Wisconsin Supreme Court from ordering maps that were even worse for Republicans. Look, I've seen the maps, and they're terrible, and they pit a lot of Republicans against one another based on where they live and where the district lines are currently versus where they are going to be. And they almost guarantee a Democrat majority in our assembly. Which is, I mean, it's funny to me because I was always told that in order to control the maps and gerrymander them, and yes, it is gerrymandering on both sides, in order to gerrymander the maps, you have to win elections. And yet, here we sit, having them decided by the courts, by a party that did not win the election. But the good news is, and I do want to talk about this later, and I might do this on a one-off video, is that Evers was stupid enough to force the abortion issue in an election year. Meaning they don't have anything to run on. To force people to get out to the polls. And if Wisconsin Republicans are smart, they will let that stand, at least till the end of election year. Criminal charges, no. Wrongful death, yes. I don't like Baldwin, but he shouldn't be charged. He absolutely should be charged. 100% should be charged. Never point a firearm at something you don't intend to destroy. Alright. Well, we can argue that to death, but it's getting on 9 o'clock. And I do want to get to bed at some point here. I want to get some cleaning done before I do go to bed. So let's do a couple things I like and a couple things that I hate. No rules of acquisition tonight. We'll leave that for Tuesday nights, but we're going to do some things I like and things I hate. So, if you guys don't know this guy here, if you don't follow him on X or Instagram, I'm going to use the Instagram video. This is a account on both that's called @ChefReactions. This guy is hilarious. This is probably one of the funnier accounts I've ever seen. In a deadpan voice, this guy watches a TikTok video and criticizes the cooking. We're only going to watch one because they are a little bit longer. But it's probably one of my favorite ones. It's, I think, the one that introduced me to this whole thing. But I mean, as you can see, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them I haven't watched yet, honestly. I haven't been caught up. I think this is the last one that I watched. This one right here. Because I did watch that one. But we have ramen in a bathtub. I've seen this one. This one I don't remember, but I think I've seen this one. Manicotti with mozzarella sticks. Brutal. Brutal, brutal. But for what I want to show you, we have to go all the way back. This is the guy that makes the garlic shrimp in the airplane bathroom that's banned from airlines, by the way. He's on the no-fly list for that. But no, we have to go all the way back to Thanksgiving to watch the one-pan Thanksgiving dinner. That's the one I want to show you guys today, so let's kill the volume. And let's watch probably one of the funnier videos you'll see this week. Together. As a family.
Young fresh chicken. That's my rap name. One pan Thanksgiving dinner. This should be something. Giblets, just leave them there. What are those? Carrots or sweet potatoes? A couple sad cans of green beans. Some cream of mushroom. Can of corn. And instant mashed potatoes. This is what I assume Millhouse's dad would make for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Just raw dog, a whole box of fucking stovetop in there. Wild. Get some liquid in there for sure. Yeah, get it in there. More. Yeah. More. Yeah, that's right. I think it's had enough. I think that chicken is just done with the stuffing. Okay. Now we're going to use our hands. Get more stovetop. Like raw stovetop. That shit's wild. That's like kitty litter, dude. So those are yams. Get some marshmallows on there. Keep it healthy. Mix it all up. This is awful, dude. I'm thankful for the fact that I've never had to eat something like this. Like, what would you do if you showed up to Thanksgiving dinner and this is what was there? Do you throw hands? Do you just politely eat it and then talk shit the entire drive home? Like, what would you do? Sour cream and the mashed potatoes to give it a little kick. I would take this thing and give it a little kick. More like a punt at the fucking back door. But that's just me. And nothing screams Thanksgiving like chunks of red onion with butter on top. That's just tradition. Don't mess with tradition. And would you look at that?
Look at that.
Oh,
For one
okay.
pan, Thanksgiving dinner, we got stuffing
Sure
on
is.
our chicken, potatoes, cream corns, beans. It's absolutely
Corns? Did you
delightful.
say cream corns? I thought corn was the plural of corn.
So this stuff.
And now we wrap it up.
We just want to cover
Yeah,
everything.
just cover it. A little bit more of that. And a crazy cut.
Those
Okay.
onions look like perfection.
Perfection.
Green bean casserole looks great.
Nah.
Our corn.
It all looks terrible.
potatoes,
And that
our-
chicken is prolapsed currently.
Chiclets. Grizzle.
Chiclets, ma'am?
Nuggets. I don't remember. Okay, then yams, and look at that stuffing.
Look at that
It's
stuffing.
perfect.
Look at that
Look at that
blown out
stuffing.
chicken.
Do it so we can look at our one pan dinner.
Please don't sing anymore.
This is just easy. This is just, it's what makes sense.
It doesn't make
And we
sense,
can get it
though.
all done in
I
one
can't make
pan,
sense of this.
so you don't have
Why would
one
anybody do
container for
this?
One what are these freaking things called? I can't remember.
Chiclets,
One
you
container
just
for
said
this,
it.
One container for this. One container. One container. It's all in one pan. So
Mhm.
you don't have 40 things going in the oven. I know that
Correct.
that's honestly the hard. Oop, I got a hair here. That's honestly
Put the hair in.
hardest
Put
part.
more in. Collect some more hair.
Cooking Thanksgiving
Throw it
is
in
the
there.
timing
It
all
adds
works
texture.
out. When they're all in one pan, you just put it in the
I mean,
oven.
she does have a point about timing. It's Wednesday. You should be working on your sides today. Otherwise, you're going to be fucked tomorrow. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're deep frying your turkey, test for
The
liquid
onion
displacement
is what really
beforehand.
helps keep the skin
Blow your fucking neighborhood
nice
up.
and crispy with a butter on each. It's just delicious.
With a
This
butter
is
on
what our
each.
Chicken looks like. Oh yeah, that's nice.
And it's raw. That's under as fuck.
And then look, our potatoes are perfect.
No, they're not.
Yum. Can't wait to get into those. What's beeping?
Oh, that's the police. They're on their way to take you
Our
away.
potatoes are perfect.
Perfect.
These are perfect.
Perfect.
Just perfect.
Perfect.
Let's see this. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. Everything is perfect.
Everything's awful.
I just love these.
That's a medium rare chicken.
That is some.
Yeah, that's a medium rare chicken. I'm not trying any of this. That's a 0 out of 10.
Some people
Would not try. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. What does that say? Young, fresh chicken?
So, if you guys want to laugh, I mean, they're all like that. They're all exactly like that. And yeah, you can follow this guy on X at Chef Reactions. Follow him on Instagram. Get these videos. The only thing with Instagram, like if you're using your phone and you've got a 2-minute timeout on your screen, you kind of got to be there ready to tap because it will time out your screen. Like I typically watch on my tablet because that's got an 11-minute timeout on there. But yeah, typically if you're watching these videos, they will time out your screen out there and you'll just be watching and everything will go silent for a moment. But yes, Chef Reactions, hilarious. Spoiler alert, I'll be watching more of these tonight. After I get done with this, I'm going to watch some more of these. Alright, some more things that I like today. Boy lived alone in unheated flat for 2 years from the age of 7 after mother abandoned him to live with her boyfriend in France. Child stole food to survive, but made it to school every day. Now, what I will say about this is I would normally hate something like this, but this says to me, I mean, this shows the human spirit, the sheer will to live. Even as far as to say that I would not expect a kid like this to go to a government school. And would actively encourage a way to find this kid a way to not go to a government school. Because that is bad for the kids, is to go to a government school. But again, the spirit, the will to live, everything off of this. You know, we've been infantilized for so many of our lives, and so many people that are in their 20s and 30s couldn't survive if they were thrown out into the wild today. And here's this kid, 7 years old, still goes to school every day for reasons unknown, and just making it, dude. Some more things that I like. Fetterman, again. I still don't trust Fetterman. By the way, with Fetterman, I want to touch on something really, really quick before I move off of Fetterman and go on to other things. What the hell is the deal with RFK Jr., with all these DeSantis people that are running and flocking to RFK? I thought we put that idea to bed a long time ago when they said that he was going to take all the votes away from Trump. And most of us pointed out that he's still a fucking socialist and a gun grabber. I want to know how these DeSantis people square the circle, but it's the same thing with Fetterman. Fetterman has said some really good stuff in the time that he's been in office, ever since he came back from his stroke. But he's still a gun grabber, and he's still a socialist. Never forget that. But we will see the latest thing that's out there that makes our friends on the left pull their fucking hair out.
I'm going to err on the side of more freedom and personal choices of those kinds of things. And I made that same argument when I wanted to legalize marijuana. Like, and more than 500,000 Americans die every year from smoking and tobacco, or tens and tens of thousands die from alcohol. And I think there's bigger issues to address than that product. So I don't support it, and I would never support snuff or chewing tobacco, but it's available. I'm going to err on this.
Yeah, but you would still support taking guns away from everybody, so I still don't trust you. Good show, though. I can't argue with what he's saying specifically in this instance, but still, knowing what this guy is all about. You still lost me, John. Friend of the show, Papa Palpatine of Clone World Chronicles, pointing out, by the way, one of the same things that I say about Wisconsin. Papa Palpatine says, I don't get why, but Kentucky is a red state that has a long history of Democrat governors. It's like Kentucky is a giga-chad who made all the right life choices, but it's the absolute worst taste in women and is always dating toxic sluts that just use him for his money. I live in Wisconsin. I felt that. I did. I really did. In probably one of the funniest articles, and then we'll move on to some things that I hate. The LA Times is to lay off at least 115 people in the newsroom. I think we earned one of these. Are you ready? Look, I am not a fan of people going out and losing their jobs in this economy, because it is harder and harder to get the ones in your primary jobs. You can go pull secondary jobs and barista jobs and cashiering jobs and everything else left and right under the sun right now. But the reason that I put this under things that I like is, see, people like this would be cheering for my job to shut down, because while I'm not going to name names, obviously, the group that I work with is, for the most part, extremely conservative. It's kind of Trumpy almost, but very, very conservative. These people would be cheering if a government regulation came down and forced all the branches at my job to close. and put all of us out here on the street because we vote the wrong way. We don't scream progressive enough. I hope these people, well, I hope they can go back and feed their families and do what it takes to do so, but I'm not going to sit and cry over the LA Times laying off people either. And if you really want to be journalists, you can come out here and compete with the rest of us and turn on a webcam and sit in your living room and read about the news that you want people to know and see how many people tune into your channel when you don't have the LA Times sitting out here and generating new views for you. Let's see. Let's do a couple things that I hate. The USA Today, don't eat at Pizza Hut, why the chain is facing a worldwide boycott. India Fontanez reporting for the Arizona Republic. Pizza Hut is facing consumer boycotts after the chain reportedly provided free meals to soldiers in the Israeli military bases. On January 19th, Pizza Hut Israel reposted on Instagram story from user Al Schultz that depicted two smiling soldiers holding stacks of Pizza Hut boxes, implying the chain had provided the meals to soldiers for free. The story expired after 24 hours and can no longer be viewed on Instagram. Palestinian news agencies, including Quds News Network, began resharing screenshots of the post on Instagram and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, sparking supporters of Palestinian rights to boycott the chain's products. I will say the same thing that I said about Bud Light, the same thing I've said about Walmart, the same thing that I have said about Target. That's another good one. The fact that I've gone to Target now since then, but it is because they did back off and try to do things. But the same thing I've said about Burger King. Things like that. It is your right to freely associate with anybody that you want. But big boycott efforts like this are stupid. I sit here and I will tell you that I won't shop at a Walmart or eat at Burger King because of ideological differences with both companies. But I do not come down and sit here and say, you can't shop at Walmart, otherwise I will ban you from this, that, and the next thing. Like these big boycott motions are doing. When they organize online and they say you all have to be all in or you're not a part of our club or anything else like that. Yes, freely associate, but do keep in mind, and this is one thing that I've always said about this, if you choose to not do business with everybody who doesn't ideologically agree with you 100%, be prepared to starve. There are some points where you have to pick your battles. And like when I was poor in Kenosha and not making ends meet, I'm not even going to say barely making ends meet now. When I lived in Kenosha the last time, I was not making ends meet. Yes, I shopped at Walmart at the time. Now, this was prior to the 5.56 ammo ban, but I knew a lot of people who tried to get boycott efforts to Walmart for various other reasons. Non-unionization, cheap Chinese crap, things like that. But it was the cheapest place to get food around. And I really had to succumb to that and say, I got a cave. I can't afford to spend the extra $2 or $3 to go shop at the Pick and Save. Or even the Target or the Woodman's. I have to go to the Walmart because it's all I can afford. Make sure you're not starving yourself to sit on an ideological perch. I have means. I don't have to shop at Walmart now. If I ever got back to as poor as I was, I probably would go back to there. I would resist it as long as I could, but man's got to eat. And when I see something like this, a company donating food for people who are hungry for one reason or another, I might actually have to go back and buy a pizza from them over the weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Some other things that I hate today. These ones still, I want to read this one a little bit more. I'm going to hold off on these ones again. I know I said that on Tuesday, but I do want to read a little bit more, and these ones are a little bit more timeless. Besides, we're 10 minutes till 2 hours. 15 minutes till 2 hours. I go by the recording clock, not the live clock. Alright. This one I just put on because of the linguistic propaganda. I almost said liberal propaganda, but everything liberal is propaganda at this point. I put this one on because of the linguistic propaganda that was associated. Libs of TikTok creator accused of inspiring school bomb threats is named to an Oklahoma library board. Which is funny, it means that she probably got up and got out of New York, which actually was probably a good thing for her. But just the linguistic propaganda in this. Accused of inspiring a bomb threat. Not accused of making a bomb threat. Not convicted of making a bomb threat. Accused of inspiring. How do you square that fucking circle? Seriously. Matt Leviente's reporting, a far-right influencer who was accused of instigating bomb threats against a school library in Tulsa last year, has been named an advisor to a state library committee, the head of state education department announced on Tuesday. Chaya Rychik, who runs the incendiary Libs of TikTok social media account, which is literally just liberals on TikTok that are putting these stories out there willingly, and is not an Oklahoma resident, was appointed to the Education Department's Library Media Advisory Committee. Chaya is on the front line showing the world exactly what the radical left is all about, lowering standards, porn in schools, and pushing a woke indoctrination on our kids, State Superintendent Ryan Walters said in a statement. Because of her work, families across the country know just what's going on in schools and around the country. So this is a mostly symbolic role, and it's entirely advisory at this point, but the linguistic propaganda. She's accused of inspiring somebody else to make the bomb threat. Get the fuck out of here. And this dude, who has absolutely no respect for the person that's in our White House, is now calling on repossession of Alaska. Newsweek reporting Putin's decree triggers ominous Alaska calls. David Brennan for Newsweek. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a new decree relating to Moscow's historic real estate holdings abroad. A move interpreted by ultra-nationalist bloggers as a foundation for future revanchism against Russia's neighbors and even the US. The decree, signed by the president late last week, allocates funds for the search, registration, and legal protection of Russian property abroad, including property in the former territories of the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union. This would include Alaska, swaths of Eastern and Central Europe, large chunks of Central Asia, and parts of Scandinavia. Russia's foreign ministry and its presidential admin's foreign property management enterprise are directed to carry out the work in order to find, register, and protect property in question. The Institute for the Study of War noted that the exact parameters of what constitutes current or historical Russian property are unclear. Newsweek has contacted the Kremlin by email to request comment. So, you want to take a bunch of property in Alaska, you say. And you know what the worst part is I don't see the Biden admin doing shit about it. Is that Beans? I don't know who Beans is. Unfortunately. Sorry, Dual Helix. The Kremlin may use the protection of its claimed property in countries outside its internationally recognized borders to further shift soft power mechanisms in post-Soviet and neighboring states, ultimately aimed at internal destabilization. One prominent ultranationalist pro-war military blogger framed the decree as a step towards a new territorial conflicts with Russian neighbors, including the US. Well, I wish you luck. I really do. I kind of wish, quote, end quote, Putin's puppet was still in office so he wasn't be doing this bullshit. But let's just appease everybody in the world, and let's see how they react to that, and see if they can try to get away with more. This just made my head hurt. They actually have a term for it now. It's been happening so much they made a term for it. Trans man who had mastectomy discovered to be 5 months pregnant, making rare. Get ready to cringe. Seahorse dad. I died a little bit inside when I read that the first time, and I just died a little bit inside now when I read it again. I die a little bit inside every time I have to read that crap. A transgender man who underwent a mastectomy while transitioning in Italy was found to be 5 months pregnant, joining a rare group of so-called seahorse dads. The parent-to-be, referred to only as Marco in Italian media, already had breast removal op and was preparing to get rid of the uterus when the pregnancy was discovered at a hospital in Rome, the Telegraph reported. Having discovered the pregnancy, the first thing to do is suspend hormone therapy immediately. Thank God for that. Dr. Giulia Senofonte, an endocrinologist, told La Repubblica, the news outlet that reported it. The expert on gender therapy warned the fetus could be at risk. It probably still is, by the way. You've already gone to excessive lengths to transform your body and your genetics and your hormones. I don't know if this is going to be a viable pregnancy or not, honestly. If the halting of the therapy is not immediate, there could be consequences, especially in the first trimester, which is an important time for the development of the baby's organs. It's difficult to talk about it in abstract terms, but it all depends on the timing of the suspension, the dosage of testosterone that the person is taking. High levels of male and female hormones in the parent body carry a cardiological risk because of the possible blood pressure and coagulation problems, Senofonte said, according to the Times of London. Look, I know that a lot of people that run into this don't believe in a lot of religion, but I'm pretty sure that God got it right. And that's why we're running into so many complications if man tries to step in and play God in something like this. You bring some of this stuff on yourself, and I hope you understand that. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from when I say that. But just the fact that they have a term for it now. God help us all. And the last one, going back to the war footing one more time with Putin. This guy. The guy who was supposed to be our conservative savior. Mr. Budget and America First and everything himself. Michael Tracy says, Speaker Mike Johnson says his issue with Ukraine's strategy is that Biden has not provided aggressive enough weapon systems for Ukraine to defeat Russia. Guys, it's one party at this point.
Failing.
Yeah, we've been pressing the White House every day for answers to critical questions the American people are owed, and we have to know that. We have to know strategy, end game. How does Ukraine get out of that conflict? Why aren't the critical weapons systems that have been requested and necessary to push Russia back been supplied by the White House? I mean, I met with President Zelensky when he was in town last before Christmas, and he said they haven't gotten the weapons system they asked for. So, in other words, the White House is not even providing the assistance that has been needed, and yet they're asking for more billions. There's a lot of work yet here to be done, and I understand the frustration of the American people. We share it as well. That's the problem.
And Mr. Speaker, one final failing.
Yeah, we've been pressing the...
How does Ukraine have an off-ramp to this? Hey, I have an idea. Come to the fucking table. Let's have a peace talk. Let's do something other than we will put every Ukrainian life at risk until every Russian is pushed out of Ukraine, former Ukraine territory. We will fight. I will throw everybody at meat grinder. let's have a strategy other than that one. And yeah, maybe we can talk about peace at this point. And with that, we're through everything. So we will have, with the exception of the two that I want to read a little bit over the weekend here. With that, we are done. We've got everything. Oops, wrong scene. There we go. So, we will start fresh on Tuesday. We'll be talking about Nevada coming up here. Probably some more stuff about New Hampshire, because I'm sure there's going to be more analysis to death off of this. We will find out what happened after the deadline tomorrow. That'll be fun. The Wayne County, the criminal charges for Michigan. I'm very curious about that, and a whole lot more. We have 5 more days for the government to fuck up, where I can come back and report on it. So, looking forward to that, and let's throw some outro music up and head out of here for the night. Let's see, where is my outro music? There it is. Wonderful beat provided by the wonderful and talented Stephen Ignoramus. If you have not checked him out for his music or his spicier than mine political commentary, I recommend you do so. But with that, we're out of here. Thank you everybody who came by and hung out, chatted in the live chat, helped push us up here. We had some lurkers here today. We gotta get some more of you guys up here and in the chat and ready to go. But with that, we're out of here. I will be back here tomorrow night for Fallout Friday. I promise I won't get sick tomorrow night, and we can actually sit here and do this. Fallout Friday. Well, I can't make that promise, I guess, because it is flu season right now, and the COVID season too. But I am hoping to be here for Fallout Friday tomorrow night. Thank you so much. We will be back here then. Otherwise, for more news and more headlines, come back and join next Tuesday as we analyze what's going to happen in the next 5 days. Looking forward to seeing you guys there and the commentary. Have a wonderful night. Get some snacks, get some good food, depending on your time zone. You might have a couple more hours to go, maybe secure a date or do something else. But take care, have a wonderful night. Be awesome, be wonderful to each other. Let the hate go. I know that we're at a tense point in our lives, but let the hate go, and we will see you here next time for more news, more headlines, more contemporary. Stick around. We will find somebody to raid if you are on the Twitch side. Otherwise, we will see you here next time. We'll be doing some more Nuka World and Fallout for Fallout Fridays. Definitely looking forward to that. The recording will be up, and the audio recording should be up here yet tonight. Looking forward to that. And until then, take care, hug your loved ones, get some rest, and until Tuesday, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.